It blows my mind when people don't really have a relationship with manifestation. And so, if you guys would like to let me know in the chat what the first time you realize that there's a possibility that you're creating this reality was. When I was a kid, I used to think that I was psychic because things would come to me before they happened, and then activities would happen. So particularly negative intentions would manifest into reality. And there's a few stories that I remember specifically. One was, I think it was called a tail kick, where you like do a bunny hop on your bicycle and kick out the tail. And how can nobody hear me? I'm just using my phone. Can you guys hear me? I'm just on my phone with no microphone attached. It should definitely, maybe you gotta increase your volume. Can anyone else hear me? All right, so kick flip, no, tail kick. Anyways, something with the bicycle, and I would knock down garbage cans. And one particular time I remember just like completely focusing on it, and it's this focus. There's a difference between just doing something mindlessly and, all right, so some people can hear me, some people can't. So there's a difference between doing something mindlessly and really focusing on it. And there's this, I can't even explain it. It's not really even in our language. We're not taught about it, but there's this moment where I can feel where like, okay, this is happening. Like it's like this multi-dimensional feeling. Knock over the garbage cans, and then less than a second later, my tire like kind of, you know where the street goes up? You're like off the street because you have to hit the garbage cans. And I go back on the street. My handlebars turn, I flip over, I land on the ground, and I'm thinking like, you know, 4th, 5th grade, like, did I just cause this? Because I was completely in the same frame of reference that would be me destroying these garbage cans, destroying somebody else's property, making an inconvenience for somebody else. Because we would do it to full garbage cans. Empty garbage cans are not so fun. When you see like full garbage cans, garbage going everywhere all over the yard, that was obviously more fun. Just as fun as falling flat on my face. It was like the same exact color of reality. That was one time. Another time, and I'm going to sound like a bad kid, but I actually wasn't that bad. I was actually a pretty good rule follower when I was younger. But one time we decided to hit mailboxes with my hockey stick. And my buddy was doing it. His arms were out the window hitting mailboxes. And he, instead of hitting mailboxes, I just got brand new mirrors on my truck. Like, you know, when you're 16 years old, the little accessories on your vehicles matter. So the first swing, he like misses the mailbox completely and just hits my mirror. And I remember hearing glass hit the ground from the mirror. Then second swing, batter up. Again, he misses the mailbox, which is probably good for him because he might have broke an arm or something, and then shatters my mirror even more. And I remember glass hitting the ground. I remember hearing that, and I remember just thinking, again, it happens. When I'm intending something negative and something negative happens. So someone's saying that's karma. You guys have any examples of this? Because this is when I started realizing, okay, what's the steering wheel of reality? Are we actually able to create reality? Because it seems, especially with our negative intentions, which is when I first noticed it, that if I'm intended something negative, which I didn't do, and I guess that would be the caveat of why I said I wasn't really a bad thing. Like I rarely did things like this, but the times that I did, it was like extreme focus, right? Like I need to get close to the mailbox, super close, like completely focused on it. It's like I cross over into this zone where I'm completely embodied in this intention, and it just ends up being me destroying myself. I'm intending on destroying somebody else's property, and I destroy my own. And again, these are just like little childhood things. Again, like 6th, 7th grade, I remember a bunch of us somebody like sprayed what's it, like shaving cream or something on our garage door, and we knew who it was, so we're gonna get him back, right? And this is like my parents' garage door. It wasn't really like my garage door. So the thing that we thought of was we're all gonna, there was like 3 or 4 of us, we're gonna all pee in a bottle, and then we're gonna just like spray the bottle inside of their mailbox. Again, dumb kid stuff, right? But that's what we thought of, like, to get these people back. And so we did that, and then I went to go like squirt it into the mailbox, and for some reason I remember it just like all bouncing right back into my face. It's like the perfect reflection of the intention, right? And imagine the focus that you have to be in to like do something really quick without getting caught. So like that's what I'm saying, like there's this like moment of embodiment that I noticed, that if I'm in this like extreme almost flow state, that no matter what in flow state, it was happening to myself. And then of course there's the longer term things. Like I spent my entire childhood hurting people on hockey, on ice. I'd fight, I would love hurting people, and all I really did at the end of my career was destroy my own body. Any other examples you guys have with similar things? So then I started asking myself, I went to school for psychology thinking that like maybe I could explain how reality works in psychology, and there wasn't really much that you learn in psychology school. Obviously, they're just teaching employees of the system they're just teaching us to be progressively more just a soldier of the system that eventually would go through the school, learn how to pay attention, learn how to work 40, 50, 60 hours, and then eventually end up prescribing drugs. And I realized that about college, so I just graduated with the bachelor's degree and didn't continue on to get a master's or a doctorate, because I could see that. And during that time, I quit buying textbooks during school. I don't know if you guys went to college, but the textbooks are like $300-ish, somewhere around there, $200, $300, $400 for a textbook. And I just remember like, why? What is the point of this if I can just go to class, listen to the teachers, and then take the test? And so that's what I used to do, because I had to pay for my own college. And so I was just accruing debt, paying for college, and then I also had to pay for hockey. So I would use my college loan to just pay for hockey and not buy books for school. And then also eventually stop paying attention in school because it was all not relevant to the human experience, which is why I was there. I went to school for psychology and exercise science. So instead of learning in school, I would go home and I would pirate stuff off the internet. And I never really got negative repercussion for that, because my intention was to just find free information. At least someone, Scott, said hockey is a worthy investment. It was cool. We won nationals a few times. Like it was a good experience. It allowed me to express all of the anger and rage within myself. It wasn't completely gone after 20 years of hockey. I've then went into CrossFit and then still competed, trying to be better than other people. And after 10 years of doing that, then I was like completely released all the anger and rage and trying to be better than other people. And I feel like most of that's cleared out of my system. I'm okay being not the grandest person in the room, because I did that. I stood on top of podiums like over and over and over again for years of like, I'm the best person in this room. All right, I'm still going to continue on. I did experience this as a kid. As an adult, it happened to me too. I had a focused thought about taking money from a person who would not want to voluntarily give it. Within seconds, I was fined. Seconds, instantaneously, right? Yeah, same thing with me when Bitcoin was like this was like almost 10 years ago. And we're like, I didn't even know what a pump and dump scheme was, but apparently I was led into that, but I didn't even really know that it was a thing. I was just like, okay, cool, we're going to make some money. All right, here's $10,000. And then I remember our friends talking about like, hey guys, it seems like if we're going to make money, then a lot of other people need to lose money. It doesn't really seem right. I was bringing this up to my buddies. And then they were just like, no, let's do it. Again, we were just all figuring it out. And then I lost 10 G's in like 30 seconds. Like what we were planning on doing to other people, they were actually doing to us, which is amazing. It was amazing. I just remember laughing because I was like, oh, it's the garbage can situation all over again. And that only happens so many times before you're like, okay, maybe I should, if I have connection with the codes of reality, then there's a responsibility that we have. And I feel like that's what life is realizing the responsibility of being a creator. Because something like manifestation is not a skill that we learn how to do. Manifestation is an act of recognition. Actually, let me just, manifestation. I never did this. I never really looked up the etymology of manifestation, but I'm doing it right now. Oh, early 15th century, manifestation, the act of disclosing what is secret, obscure, or unseen. Exhibition, demonstration. This is amazing. Action of disclosing what is secret. So manifestation is not a skill of something that we create. Manifestation is recognizing that we are a creator. Disclosing what is secret, obscure, or unseen. So manifestation is that moment. It's the verb. It's the action of recognizing what is, I'm pointing over here because that's where my computer screen is, what is unseen. It's recognizing that we've always been manifesting. And so we label that recognition as manifestation. The way that it's spoken about is that like we're doing something, we're doing manifestation. It's not a doing, it's a recognizing. My clients that have owed me money, and when I clear the karma with them before call and ask, change so much. If there was karma to release with them, they are much more likely to pay right away. My clients that I owed me money when I clear, guys, we have any other like extremely simple experiences of us creating reality? Where did you get your plants? All over the place. So if you guys live in Los Angeles, go to the flower district during the week. Try not to go during the weekend. There's way too many people there. But during the week, go to the flower district in downtown LA. Just Google flower district, and you're going to go around. You're going to see a bunch of people selling flowers. And what ends up happening is like the stores in Beverly Hills, they go to the flower district at 4 a.m., pick up flowers, and then they bring it to their shops that open at 9 a.m. or 8 a.m., and then they sell them for double the price. So what we can do as residents of cities is maybe there's a flower district or somewhere near you if you live near another large city, and you can just go to the places where the fancy boutiques go in the morning, because these people that own these boutiques, they need to get their supplies from somewhere, and where they're getting their supplies is probably in the dirty part of town where there's a bunch of warehouses where you can just walk in and buy it straight from them. Anyways, in those areas, usually they're also selling plants, because nurseries also do the same thing. A lot of nurseries, if they're big enough, they can directly wholesale from they're just getting the stuff directly from the harbors that are coming from other countries, or they have people going out. But if you are near these places, so you either do that or just find on Facebook Marketplace, you can search free plants, free pots, do that consistently, you'll find them. Or you'll find some like grandma, some abuela, that's all she does is care for plants in her backyard, especially if you live like in Southern California where we do. And then you get them roughly cheap because I'd rather have, I have like 100 plants in this house, probably even more than that. And it takes me an hour or two to water them when I water them. But to answer your question, where do I get the plants? I'm telling you. There's also in Ventura, there's a place called Succulents and Cactuses, I think. It's like inland of downtown Ventura on whatever that main street is. And you can get succulents and cactuses. They just keep on propagating them. And you get them for like $2. And then they grow up. And then you just have plants that are propagating too. And then you just keep on repotting them. For me, the most expensive part of owning a lot of plants is the repotting and buying the pots. The pots are actually more expensive than the plants most of the time. So everything back there is plants. Actually, one of my favorite ones are these guys. This is a Madagascar palm. So it actually is, this is actually a baby offshoot. So this thing will get, I think I bought this one's parent when it was about this tall 2 years ago. And then they eventually start having little babies on the bottom. So then you disinfect a razor with just like some alcohol and you chop off the baby, which was this. And then you wait like 48 hours for it to form a callus, which is like, you don't want to just put like a fresh cut succulent or cactus into dirt. You actually want to cut it, leave it there to form a callus is what it's called, but it's really just a dry thing. And then the little pup, which is like the baby, the pup, ends up callusing, and then you can put it into dirt. And because it's a cactus or a succulent, you don't want to water it right away. Like, these things actually like it pretty dry. So let it be in the dirt for a week and then start watering it. Because during that week, that callus is going to start like poking out little roots, and then the roots can handle water. So this is literally a pup. And that whole second shelf down, see there's one right there, there. I just put one of these outside to see how it do. It didn't. I actually think it died. But these ones are really cool, Madagascar palms, and it's curving the other way. It's curving that way because it's trying to get the sun. If you guys can see that, it's like completely going to bend. So I'm facing them now, putting the sun on this side. And then you just learn about plants. And I think plants are a good tangent right now. Plants are, how do you clear the karma? There is no clearing karma, guys. It's your bed. You get to sleep in it. So it'll clear itself. Like, it'll rebalance itself. It might not be in the moment. It might be 50 years down the road. And you're going to remember. You're going to remember, and that's an amazing, glorious manifestational recognition. When you're like, So there's not like a magic wand thing that you do. It's there. And there's no fear. We all make the best decisions in the moment. That's the thing. So regretting something is not worth it. Like, we all do what we do because we determined it was the best thing in the moment, and we just trust that about ourselves. And I made the greatest decision in this moment, and we do that moment by moment. We just keep on doing that. When you cut the baby, where do you put it to form the callus? Just flat on the ground. I put these flat inside because they leak. they leak and they get all over things. You can put it like in your garage. I would put it more in a sterile environment than a like outside environment. But I mean, the things are gonna survive no matter what. Another thing about Madagascar palms specifically is that they're poisonous to pets. Solar's never eaten these or anything, so I never really had to worry about it. But if you have a pet, especially like a puppy, because Solar, when he was a puppy, used to eat, he ate an entire cactus, a baby cactus before. We have no idea how he did that, but he ripped it out and then it was gone. We assumed that he swallowed it. So if dogs do that to Madagascar palms, it's not so good. So they multiply. And then you just have like more and more plants in your house. Now the thing with plants that a lot of people don't recognize, and people walk into our house, and it looks like this all over our house. Like all over our house, it's stuff like this. Maybe one of these lives, I'll go on a tour of the house. I actually messaged Armstrong Nursery and said like, hey, I go live. Do you guys have anybody that would like to walk around my house, be on live with me while I walk around the house and we just talk about the different plants? Armstrong Nursery is like, when we lived in Laguna Beach, that was where I used to go. I don't know if it's a franchise, affiliate, or what, but they're everywhere. But I was like, give me somebody and I'll promote your guys' nursery and we can talk about them. They never replied to me. Okay, so good point about poisonous plants. There are quite a few. Yeah, so guys, be aware of that. Also, everyone's like looking for the magic, like, how do you keep track of these plants? So there's two things I can tell you guys about it. So number one is you got to get one of these things. This is a soil moisture tester. And so the way that it works, I mean, I didn't know this thing existed until I was like, it would be cool if I knew how much, because when you first get like one plant, you're just like, oh no, I need to water it. I need to water it. And then the leaves start turning yellow and you're like, the leaves are yellow. I must need to water it more. And then all of a sudden like gnats show up and you're like, this happened to me. Your whole place is just filled with all these bugs because you just made an environment for them to live in. Or the plant starts root rotting and then dying. And so you need to, and when you guys go on Facebook Marketplace, if you're looking for free plants, you're going to find a whole bunch of plants that people did that for, and they just want them out of their house. They're like, free plant. Just make sure they don't have like little bugs on them. Spider mites, you don't want to bring into your house. So look for let's start talking about plants, all right? Because I'm just realizing right now that I've actually learned quite a bit. So if you go on Facebook Marketplace and you just search free plants, you're going to find a whole bunch of people that have plants. Because like I said, like these things multiply. So back to this. Let me finish this out. So soil reader tester. So this one, I don't need to actually, and I'm trying to get this knot. So you guys see when I poke it in, it goes to 3. And then when I take it out, it's dry. So because this is more like a cactus, this is actually pretty wet. In the winter time, here's some more information. In the winter time with like succulents, especially Madagascar palms specifically, they don't really grow in the winter time, which means what? They're kind of dormant, which means what? They're not going to be taking in water. So having one of these soil moisture testers, so just to give you guys an example, I water most of my plants every week. There's some plants like the vine type plants, these plants that are just like, they go viral, like it comes way over here, like these plants, I could water them probably every day. I don't, probably every 2 or 3 days. A lot of times I forget and it goes a week. But those ones, I try to water double of like the week window. And you guys will get used to what that means. These ones, I water half as much or even a quarter as much in the winter time. And so Like I watered everything a week ago. I water on the weekends. I usually do Saturday or Sunday, and then I try and go through. There's certain plants that I know just from experience of doing this that they're going to take in a lot more water. And then there's other plants like this that I know, especially in the wintertime, that uses less water because of this. And then eventually when you get this thing, which costs like $10, you can then just like also start coordinating what the dryness is based on just putting your finger here. So obviously like people that grow plants from when they're a kid, they don't need something like this. They can just look and they'll have like a sixth sense of how to care for their plants. Another thing, so that's number one. So just so you guys know, like, just so I'm not trying to act like I'm a perfect know-it-all, like this one, it was dying. And so you're like, why is it dying? Like, why is, like, it seems like it might be too wet, but then the things are drying on top. So plants are like a big, huge equation if you've never been taught. And look, there's a little, I don't know if you guys can see, there's a little baby coming right there. So what I did, because there was like a whole bunch of dead ones, I just like got rid of them all. I left what I thought would be usable meaning like alive. So I'm like, okay, actually there was hardly any of this coming out a week or two ago. And then I changed where it is in the house. That usually is going to help. Change where it is in the house. This actually was in a greenhouse, which I have in the hallway, which I feel like I should show you guys. But I'm not going to. I'll wait till I do a tour. But for right now, maybe I'll do it next week. And we'll do this in depth. But for right now, until I find another tangent to go on, we're talking about plants. So it's just this constant like equation of like, all right, it didn't do good in that spot. Either I was giving it too much water or little water, or is the spot. Maybe it's the humidity of where it was. It was in a greenhouse. Maybe it was like not getting enough wind. Like there's a whole bunch of things. So I took it out. I put it in our bathroom. We have like a frosted window so people can't see into where our bathtub is. And plants really like that spot because it's not direct sunlight. And then it didn't like that. It died even more. So then I put it up here, which is pretty bright. You guys can see a lot of plants do very well up here. It's pretty bright. And it's doing good. Now, another thing is like these vine type plants. Some of them, and actually, all right, there's another important thing to do when watering plants and taking care of plants. You have to treat it like a living being, and this is the most important part. And those of you that are still watching right now get the benefit of this, because it wasn't till it's not until you take care of many plants that you actually start feeling them. You actually start feeling the essence of the plant and accepting that and respecting that and communicating with them is I would say the most important part. So when people say, how do you keep all these plants alive? It's because you build a relationship with them and you treat them like family, essentially. That's what they are. They're literally in your space. There's a room that we don't go in, and it's like basically our photo studio, which we never use because like I have my own office, Carolina has her own office. Our bedroom is freaking magnificent, so I usually do lives like in our bedroom overlooking the ocean. She also uses the kitchen, and then there's like our our dining room table that has a background of again ocean outside. And so then we also have this extra room that has like a backdrop that plants have never survived in there because we never go in there. It's like this dead room in our house that I try to put plants in there to make it feel more like alive. But we're just like kind of using the plants. We're not paying attention to that room. We're not paying attention to the plants. And plants have a very difficult time being in there. I actually just grabbed 2 new plants to put in there. One being a spider plant. So you also recognize that there's plants that are more resilient than others. So snake plants, spider plants, these are super resilient. But snake plants you can very easily overwater. They don't need much light, but you gotta drastically starve them for water. But you can pretty much leave them in the darkness and they'll be okay for a very, very long time. And then, then there's plants that you might like more than others, which is what I was starting to say earlier. There's plants that I actually don't like so much. Like, there's one of them back there. And I don't really like it because I have a few of them that never do well, and I know why. I know what's going to make them do well. I figured it out. And so I might be able to rebuild my relationship with this plant. And it's because it's a vine plant. And if you think about vines in nature, so I can't really actually bring it here because it's behind on that corner, and then it goes onto the top of this gong, and then like it goes back and forth a whole bunch of times. And the problem that I have with this plant is that it keeps on producing these vines with no leaves on them. Like, this is just an empty ass vine. There's no leaves. There's just this snake thing. And so I keep on just wrapping it around. There's one in our bathroom that I just cut off all of those wrangly little things a couple days ago. And there's one that we have downstairs that I also just chopped. Okay, so what I figured out is that we think inside of a house that a vine means hanging down. But if you think about out in nature, that viney plant, if it starts on the ground, which is where it gets its nutrients, its minerals, its water, the vines are actually going to do what? They're going to crawl up a tree. And so some of these viney plants, I'll show you which one in particular. Like the ones that grow really well are the pythos ones. But then there's another one. I'll be right back. So this one was just dying in our living room. It had just like strings, but it's this one, which I also think might be a version of pythos, but it's like this very specific sort of like, it's got like a felt, it's not really felty, but it feels like a different texture than just like a regular leaf. This one I have learned, and I am hoping what's going to make this one survive is the one in our bathroom. I just put a stick in there, a moss pole. This one I think does better if it grows upwards, because when it grows downwards, it makes super, super small leaves, or the leaves just don't grow. And it's just like it's just making like a soft green snake thing. So this one I believe is going to like to grow upwards, because some plants like to grow upwards because that's how they would be in nature. In our houses, we're like, oh, it's a vine, it's got a hang over thing. Well, no, it would grow up a tree, up the thing, and then vines eventually, like they're not carnivorous, but they're invasive to a tree. They will start to wrap around and steal sunlight from the tree, and then eventually choke off the tree. And then if you guys see in like the movies where like people or like apes are living inside of a tree, that actually exists in nature. It's like the vine takes over a tree, and then the inside tree dies and rots away, and then what exists on the outside is like a viney living structure with a hollow inside. I have a beautiful heart-shaped cactus that has started growing more hearts, and now it produces at least 9. It's just so awesome. Yeah. You learn a lot about like, and there's more plants back there, but they're like interweaved with each other. It's important if you have a lot of plants is to know how to handle pests. So sometimes spider mites come in and they leave this like spider web all over the plant, but then they're also really small and they start to breed and then they start to get on your other plants. And then it's sad because if you don't know how to take care of them, I remember I had to throw a palm tree just like literally away, just like a beautiful palm tree. I just went to an empty like nature place and just dumped it. So there's some spray that is natural, so you can get like neem spray that may or may not work, and there's what's it called? Natural insecticide. So yeah, nobody likes insecticide, but I mean, it ends up being like, so there's natural stuff that you can use, and then there's like stronger stuff. Chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum is, what is chrysanthemum? Chrysanthemum. What is chrysanthemum made from? Chrysanthemum are flowering plants that are part of the Asteraceae, I can't pronounce it, family, which also includes daisies and sunflowers. So this chemical that comes from this flowering plant also is an insecticide. So like when you go to the nursery and like you have to take care of something, like maybe there's like eggs on your leaves, or there's tons of like little fruit flies that have just like infested everything, there's ways to handle that. Sometimes neem works, sometimes you need to get some other phytochemical, but usually you don't need to like start spraying like Raid or any, because remember I was just dipping my fingers in the soil. If you start putting poison in your plants and then over the next few years you're just dipping your fingers and you're basically intaking all of that, who knows what's in there, arsenic or whatever other chemicals, and it goes straight into your blood when you do that. Any advice on bird of paradise? I like it to get fuller. Should I cut it back hard? Are you talking about like the palm tree bird, like the bird of paradise palm? So you need to think about like palm type plants are, I'm interested if we're talking about like a bird of paradise palm, which I have outside. So those need a lot of sun. So indoors, I've never grown one indoors. So outdoors or like by a super, super, super bright window, but outdoors if you have a yard, and then they do need quite a bit of water. So anything that's like a palm tree, you need to hopefully have, soil I didn't even cover. Make sure that you match the soil to the plant. So like succulents and cactus need a specific soil. Also, if you get plants from like near rivers, they actually, like if they're grown near rivers, certain plants like sand in it, but usually that comes in the soil mix. But bird of paradise palms need like full sunlight, direct sunlight, and need to be outside. So yeah, someone else is saying outdoors, they love tropical surroundings. So you also need to realize that some plants are okay indoors, some plants need to be outdoors. Some plants that grow indoors, you have to like slowly transition them out, especially like with winter time and like colder nights. Some plants will do well indoors or outdoors. And yeah, talk to your plants. They'll tell you what they need. I met this guy at Air One who hangs out with super like Mr. Beast type creators, and he was heavily into fitness, so he has his own channel. And I was talking to him about buying food, because think about farmers. We're talking about plants, guys. Farmers care for plants. And so if you're looking to benefit from food the most, you're obviously going to need to source farmers that know how to care for plants. And that matters. So how do you know if the farmer cares for the plants? Like, what are plants? Like, plants are an extension of the family, which is what I was just talking about, right? So even if they're using them to produce food to then sell for a profit, you still want the farmer that is like very nurturing, respectful, understands like how to parent. And so an easy way to do this, and this is like completely stereotyping and using our sense of pattern recognition, but a very easy way to tell like if they're on it, if they're the full package of a farmer, which is important when you go to the farmer's market, because there's people that go to the farmer's market that just bought a truckload of stuff from Costco and then they're just selling it to you. They have absolutely no respect for plants, no respect for you, no respect for themselves. They're just there to make money. And this stuff exists. So how do you tell? How do you tell? I mean, for me, the easiest way is to look at the kids. Like, the farmer's there. First you look at the self, then you look at their kids. Like, how do the kids look? Do they look like they've been poisoned? Do they look like they've got vigor? And start there. Because if they take care of their own family well, then it at least opens the door for them to take care of their plant family well. But if they don't take care of their actual human family well, then like what's the odds that they're going to take care of their plant family very well, especially if they're just using those plants to sell for profit. And then they might start just introducing things that are going to make them bigger and brighter and last longer on the shelf and all those chemicals. Like, you kind of want the farmers that don't do that. And yes, it's completely stereotyping. Like, we have this ability of pattern recognition for a reason, and we should use it. And yes, of course, it gets dangerous. What does that mean, cook the dirt? Your health will improve. Let me see. And support the farmers that grow biodynamically. Yes, of course. Like, same thing with Purium. Like, we use regenerative farming. So regenerative farming is like a form of biodynamic where like you actually have to take care of the soil in a way that continuously produces good nutrients for the plants, as opposed to what a lot of farmers do, which is till the soil, which destroys the microorganisms in the soil, and then there's very little nutrients in the soil because it's not being taken care of. There's just a monoculture. It's just like one type of plant that sucked all the nutrients out, and then there's no reintroduction of a natural nutrients into the, like carbon, into the soil. Carbon is what makes carbohydrate and cellulose, so that's what carbon is necessary for plants to grow, but there's ways to put carbon and nitrogen into the soil naturally by planting different types of plants during different types of seasons and not destroying the soil. And so regenerative farmers have to take care of all of this and do things naturally, because if you just till and destroy, then what do you have to introduce? You have to introduce nitrogen fertilizers. You have to introduce like chemical fertilizers to get those ingredients that you need for plants. And then that's what you end up eating. Like the plant is made up out of these chemicals. And regenerative biodynamic farmers, like, they're rare and your food's going to be much more expensive. But as I said, that's what we do with Purium. That's why people can drink our products that are better than even raw fruits and vegetables that you buy at the farmer's market, because we've taken care to save, like literally save farmers from having to be switched over into a Monsanto farm. And we've allowed them to, we've given them contracts so that they can continue doing things the right way, and that our clients can benefit from that pure nutrition that has the ability to empower your body to fix itself from all sorts of issues. And you can feel that upon your first sip. And that's why we guarantee money back. Our products are going to completely transform people's lives, because it's made with real nutrition that is within the cycle of life. Fish emulsion is better. Does that mean that you're just grinding up fish and putting it in the soil? I have no idea what that means. Is fish... Is fish emulsion from fish? It's a liquid fertilizer made from byproducts of the fish oil and fish meal industry. So people use that as fertilizer. I don't know, that doesn't really seem better than regenerative farming to me. Do they use cow manure for fertilizer? No, they use plants, guys. Plants... So they use like a crop cover. So like, let's say your food plant grows up and then you grow all of this other crop cover, and then that grows up, like let's say off season, and then that's grabbing nutrients out of the air, like carbon dioxide. It's grabbing the carbon from that, and then you just basically mat it down, and then that becomes the fertilizer for the next season. So you're just like collecting from other plants and using the roots of other plants and even the leaves of other plants to bring the nutrients into the soil for your food plants. And they go through this cycle, and they cycle different food plants in the fields as well to make sure that they're all balanced. This person's saying that it's not better than regenerative. The fish emulsion is not better than regenerative farming. It's better than Miracle-Gro. Yeah, I would agree with that. Cover crops can be something like fava beans, and they will grow to maturity and then till into the soil, and it adds all the nutrients from the plant back into the soil. Is that what they call the Three Sisters planting? Yeah, that's a version of this. Down in like Central America, where plants perfectly harmonize to continuously produce nutrient-rich soil. There's also something, so the Amazon, guys, is a farm. It's an old, ancient farm. And imagine like these old monolithic structures, these gigantic pyramid structures that we have no idea how to build. We don't have the technology now how to build them, especially if you're like, the stories say that they're built quickly, like in a day, right? It wasn't like one stone placed there every minute for 25 years. It was like, the stories say that they're like built overnight. And there's something called, is it dark earth? Terra Negra? Or no, I think it's brown earth. Dark earth. Why can't I remember this? Yeah, dark earth. Terra preta. Terra preta. So terra preta is made, and it's made like just as like sort of like, it's not a simple way to make it. In one of Graham Hancock's books, he goes over it specifically, like on how to actually make it. And I'm sure you can just Google how to make terra preta. And if that doesn't come up, then just Google how to make terra preta Graham Hancock, and you'll find the instructions. Like it's like you have to put like several layers of something. You have to like burn it to create like charcoal, and then do something else and do something else, and then eventually it makes this soil that heals the ground, and it lasts essentially forever. Like still, this specific soil exists in the Amazon. Now the Amazon, I was taught, maybe not all of us were taught, but I was taught it's just like a randomly occurring jungle. Apparently, everything in the Amazon is usable by human beings. So I think that, let me just Google amount of native plants in Amazon. So there's tens of thousands of species in the Amazon, and there's like, it is estimated that 500,000 plant specimens in the Amazon have currently been collected. So obviously there's more, but the thing is that there very few of it is native to the area. So, and the few, it's like 5% or less that are native, right? So that means that somebody brought in everything else, and then the 5% that's native are actually usable by humans. So there's this terra preta special dirt, dark earth, that is very, very, it's the most nutrient dense, magical soil that exists on the planet. You can actually put it into your backyard and it'll completely regenerate your dirt into soil in your backyard. Like it's this miracle soil that's all over the Amazon. The Amazon is a gigantic farm that is way more advanced than what we know of as a farm. That's why we never really recognized it as a farm. But when you start to uncover things, this is like one of those conspiracy theories, but when you start to look into things, the signals are there to identify it as something made. I almost said man-made, but it's probably a higher intelligence made farm that exists on this planet, and we're currently burning it down. How do you spell Kara? So it's not Kara Preter, it's Terra. So Terra means earth, and then Preta. So Terra Preta is Terra. So I want to get the right exact. I think it's Petra, but why can't I find it now? Let me just Terra Preta. Yeah, Preta. So on Wikipedia, Terra Preta literally means black soil in Portuguese. Also known as Amazonian dark earth or Indian black earth, is a type of very dark, fertile, anthropogenic. And anthropogenic means that it's like a human influenced. It's human influenced soil found in the Amazon basin. Is that what anthropogenic means? Caused directly or indirectly by humans, yes. So in Portuguese, its full name is Terra Preta do Indio, or Terra Preta de Indio, which means black soil of the Indian. Indians black earth. Terra mulata is lighter or brownish in color. Terra preta owes its characteristic black color to its weathered charcoal content and was made by a mixture of charcoal bones, broken pottery, compost, and manure to the lower fertility Amazon soil. It's a product of indigenous Amazonian soil management and slash and char architecture. This is Wikipedia, by the way. So this is like civilized humans with computers that are doing their best to make sense of ancient technology, right? The charcoal is stable and remains in soil for thousands of years, binding and retaining minerals and nutrients. Guys, this is like magic soil. And it's all over the Amazon and it's man-made. So we're just saying like, oh, the Indians who were savages just used to make this stuff. No, it's not. This is like some high advanced civilization things that we're not even agriculturally this advanced. Anyways, that was just to top off the, how about chicken manure? How about terra preta? Like the stuff like fish emulsion and chicken manure, yes, use it. Obviously, if you have a farm with chickens, then they're going to, you're going to move your chickens